Hey guys, Chastity here with another Best of 2017 list. This was an incredible year for television. From the return of old favorites to charming new comedies to showdowns with dragons, there was never a shortage of great shows to watch. So which shows made it to the top of our list? I'll tell you, but first be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our end of the year lists. We're listing off the worst reviewed movies and the best Netflix originals, plus the biggest movies and shows to look forward to in 2018. And now here are our top 10 TV shows of 2017. Game of Thrones' shorter, tighter 7th season threw traditional timelines out the window. It propelled its characters toward the show's impending final season with gusto, with standout episodes like The Spoils of War. The White Walker threat was finally established and fully recognized in Westeros, and became the catalyst to galvanize friends and foes to push everything forward. Characters like Olenna Tyrell were given ample time to shine, with her one-liners remaining series highlights.
Tell Cersei, I wanted to know it was me.
While Season 7 of Game of Thrones didn't hit the high notes of previous seasons, and had some questionable pacing, it did its job in placing the key figures in a position for what promises to be an explosive finale. Unfortunately, we have to wait over a year for the payoff. Rick and Morty has remained one of the most creative shows on television since its first episode. That doesn't change in Season 3, as it's continued not only to surprise longtime fans, but to make almost every episode enjoyable for new viewers.
Pickle Rick!
This season of Rick and Morty taught us lessons about family, trust, and anger. It's applied commentary on the evils of capitalism, the corruption of absolute power, the falseness of bravado, and the protective fabrications of youth. All the while, it continued to develop its characters without dimming any of the brilliance from its previous seasons.
I think it's possible that dynamic eroded your marriage and is infecting your kids with the tendency to misdirect their feelings.
You.
Mom!
Both of you two.
Rick and Morty continues to redefine how characters interact with the narrative around them and pushes comedy writing further, into a place of highly intelligent social criticism, without losing a single fart joke along the way. Where do you go when you die? The Good Place dares to answer this question in the form of a sitcom, giving us a fresh, hilarious take on the afterlife from Parks and Rec creator Michael Schur. The show is delightfully absurd, giving us a perfectly crafted first season and going off the rails in Season 2. It's one of the funniest and by far the most original live-action comedy series of the past year, with a talented cast of ridiculous characters led by stars Kristen Bell and Ted Danson.
When your time on Earth has ended, we calculate the total value of your life using our perfectly accurate measuring system. Only the people with the very highest scores, the true cream of the crop, get to come here, to the Good Place. What happens to everyone else, you ask? Don't worry about it.
Season 1 follows Belle's Eleanor, a selfish misfit who, by some huge mistake, ends up in the eternal paradise known as the Good Place. She must hide her morally imperfect ways, otherwise she'll be sent to the Bad Place, a hellscape filled with endless torture.
What is the Bad Place like?
I can only play you a brief audio clip of what is happening there right now. Well, it doesn't sound awesome.
Season 1 concluded in January with one of the most brilliant twists on television in recent years. Now 8 episodes into Season 2, The Good Place is even more zany than before, twisting and turning at an unrelenting pace. Anything could happen. In a world inundated with superheroes in movies and on TV, FX's Legion was a welcome breath of fresh air, and a truly mind-blowing experience. Creator Noah Hawley, showrunner for Fargo, used his uncanny powers of storytelling to share the tale of David Haller, one of the most powerful and troubled X-Men and son of Professor X. Season 1 gave us a fascinating clash of mind-melting visuals and a blossoming romance, set perfectly to a Pink Floyd soundtrack. Aubrey Plaza delivered the standout performance of the season as the faux friend Lenny Busker. Plaza showed an incredible amount of range, confident, charismatic, and tremendously demented. The show was loosely rooted to its comic book origins, but became something much bigger, as it wrestled with mental illness and a man at war with his own mind. The first season might have left us with more questions than answers, but it's clear that Hawley has even bigger aspirations for season 2. Glow is a brilliant mix of comedy, drama, and 80s nostalgia. Inspired by the real-life 80s cable show, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow followed the development of a low-budget female wrestling show in LA, all from the point of view of the women who signed up to get in the ring. It showcased some of the year's best writing and a tremendous female-led ensemble cast.
Are you hiring actors to play wrestlers, or are we the wrestlers?
Go! Yes.
Woo! Christ. Fucking actresses.
At times, Glow was absolutely hilarious. This collection of struggling actresses, models, lost souls, and outsiders, each with zero wrestling experience, are thrown together to develop a narrative wrestling show on a shoestring budget. Over the course of 10 episodes, the group go from distrusting and resenting each other to forming deep friendships, which serve as a substitute for the emotional center lacking elsewhere in their lives. But none of this is done in a sentimental or cliched way. The plot consistently serves the characters, and there are frequent surprises that upend our expectations. Best of all, each of these beautifully paced episodes was wrapped up in 30 minutes. The Leftovers started off in a weird place in season 1 and only got stranger as it went on. By the end of season 3, it evolved into something truly special. Adapted from Tom Perrotta's novel, the HBO show chronicled the events following a global disaster, where 2% of the world's population suddenly and inexplicably vanished from existence. The show is a morose, contemplative, and often absurdly funny exploration of grief and identity, all in a world that, thanks to one single event, is fundamentally different from our own. Season 3 completely blew our expectations away. It took a story that was biblical in scale, a storm that would finally wash the remainders of humanity away, and made it intensely personal.
You're gonna have to hold me down.
If I could do this instead of you, I would.
Every storyline in The Leftovers somehow reached a satisfying conclusion by the end of season 3, even while the central mystery remained. What happened to the 2%? The show's most amazing feat may be how it ultimately provided the answer in a pulse-pounding final scene that let us, as viewers, choose exactly what to believe. Big Little Lies is much more than it appears to be. It builds a truly compelling murder mystery around its complex, flawed characters, who live seemingly perfect lives in the coastal city of Monterey, California. Adapted from Liane Moriarty's novel, Big Little Lies digs beneath the surface of this calm, pristine town to reveal the guilt, self-destruction, anger, and stress escalating within its inhabitants.
I'm not fucking perfect! You think you know me so well? I fuck up too. I make mistakes. I've made mistakes bigger than this.
From the beginning, we are shown a murder, aware that the season will end in a death, with neither the victim nor the murderer revealed. As the season progresses, tensions rise and parents become more dangerous, and anyone could be a suspect. Each member of the talented female-led cast delivers powerful, incredible performances as mothers who would do anything for their children. Nicole Kidman gives a standout performance as Celeste, a former lawyer married to an abusive husband.
When this violence occurs, have you ever been afraid you might die?
Never.
Never.
The show addresses domestic violence head-on and doesn't hold back. Kidman and Alexander Skarsgård deliver one of the most intense and harrowing depictions of a violent marriage ever shown on television. With only 7 episodes, the first season of Big Little Lies is perfectly paced, building towards a satisfying climax. Despite the darkness that the characters deal with, Big Little Lies is ultimately a story of strength and friendship. Hopefully, the recently announced season 2 will be just as good. Mindhunter is a true crime drama that takes place in the late 1970s. It's based off of the book of the same name by John E. Douglas and Mark Olshaker. This mesmerizing Netflix original tells the story of FBI agents Holden Ford and Bill Tench, with the help of psychologist Wendy Carr, who used the minds of real-life imprisoned killers to stop similar crimes from happening in the future. The show centers around the birth of the term serial killer. Jonathan Groff and Holt McCallany are the perfect Holmes-Watson duo, diving headfirst into the heart of darkness to answer the questions stated by Tench.
How do we get ahead of crazy if we don't know how crazy thinks?
Mindhunter is bold and daring in the way it handles the audience's appetite for a gritty true crime villain of the week. Holden's relationships with the monsters keep your eyes glued to the screen. We, the audience, find ourselves building empathy for the killers. And this is what makes the show so damn disturbing. Netflix had a king's ransom of binge-worthy shows in 2017, but Mindhunter will keep you locked on the screen until the final credits roll. You'll find yourself completely immersed in the show. Trust us, Mindhunter is a must-watch.
This is the water.
And this is the well. Drink full and descend.
While every major studio in Hollywood is trying to desperately recreate our old nostalgia for cash, David Lynch chose to use his Twin Peaks franchise name to create his strangest work yet. And that's saying something. We've waited patiently for 25 years for Dale Cooper to re-emerge from the Black Lodge, and what we got was an 18-hour journey that follows very few rules of traditional television. Gone by the wayside are the teen drama and comedic aspects of the original series, replaced with Kafka themes and the dream world. In fact, we don't hear any of Angelo Badalamenti's iconic score until we are pretty deep into the new series.
Man, brings back some memories.
Twin Peaks: The Return is an 18-part film that builds upon Lynch's fascination with dreaming in collaboration with Mark Frost, and sourcing out their works from 25 years ago, and most recently Frost's novel, The Secret History of Twin Peaks. The Return is not different from these other works by Lynch. In fact, one can say that Mulholland Drive is a direct companion to the Showtime limited series. Like Mulholland Drive, The Return is filled with curious transitions, time shifts, doppelgangers, and other dreamlike elements. And while we loved breaking down the show each and every week, we knew that this is not a show for the current recap culture.
Hi, dead. Yes, yeah,
Twin Peaks: The Return is a magnificent journey into the unknown with characters and settings that we thought we knew so well. Lynch and Frost were given the opportunity to go back to the town of Twin Peaks and had very little interest retelling or continuing the same story from 25 years ago. Instead, the two created something that stands out completely on its own and left us inspired with the sheer audacity of it all. There was something about the pointed, dystopian semi-fiction of Hulu's The Handmaid's Tale that seemed particularly relevant this year. But that's far from the only reason the Margaret Atwood adaptation is the best show of 2017. Set in a near future, a religious cult has taken over the United States, after a plague that all but wiped out humanity's reproductive capabilities. Militaristic forces enforce a strict class system with an iron fist, and those at the bottom are treated as barely human. Handmaids are women who've proven to be fertile, and they occupy a gray area somewhere in the middle. They're revered for the gift God gave them, but treated like prisoners and punished violently for any steps out of line. They're stripped of any personal identity, including their names, and ripped away from their families. On top of that, they act as surrogate mothers for the upper-class commanders, raped monthly in twisted rituals in God's name so he'll bless them with children.
And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said unto Jacob, "Give me children, or else I die."
The one bright shining star at its center is Elizabeth Moss, who in her lead role as the handmaid Offred, provides the core of rebellious humanity on which the rest of The Handmaid's Tale hangs. Her every move and word monitored, even by those who might otherwise be friends, Offred still finds quiet ways to rebel, with an unforgettable award-winning performance.
You are gonna burn in goddamn motherfucking hell, you crazy evil bitch!
Season 1 showcases an amazing cast and a white-knuckled story of survival against impossible odds. Most incredible about this show is the way it used flashbacks to realistically bridge the gap between our present day and the dark future the show predicts. The Handmaid's Tale did more than simply confront us with that terrifying future. It showed us exactly how we might reach a similar point, and challenged us to do everything we can to ensure we never do. So what was your favorite TV show of 2017? Let me know in the comments below or on Twitter at Chastity_V, and be sure to check out all of our Best of 2017 lists all week long. See ya!